If you know me, you know my favorite hotel on planet Earth. We're shooting from my favorite hotel on planet Earth, the Roxbury Contemporary Hotel in Roxbury, Stratton Falls. Wait till you see this place. I am telling you, it is time for you to travel. I'm going to see, what's the name of the place, this one?
The Fairy Forest.
The Fairy Forest. I'm about to see the Fairy Forest for the first time. Last time I was here, and I've been here really since construction, I've been coming back every year, but the Fairy Forest I haven't seen before. So this is my first reaction to the Fairy Forest. Holy shit. Wait till you see this place. We will see you in just a little while.
Talk about a little while, Anthony Melchiori. We are back in the Fairy Forest Tower Cottage. Great to see this place.
That's not the Fairy Forest. That's outside, isn't it?
It definitely looks outside. I don't know if this is a cottage in upstate New York or the world of Avatar at Orlando's Disney World. This is incredible.
People keep comparing this place to Disney World, and I'm telling you something. This is better than Disney World. This is unbelievable. Let me see your beautiful face. Where are you?
All right, let's see our beautiful faces coming right up. Boom! Hey, Anthony Melchiori, look at you. Look at you. You're in a fantasy forest, fairy forest cottage. I am in outer space. Woo.
Yeah, you belong in that space. But that shot is from our beautiful producer, David, who's right above me, and he's taking that shot. So I'm in this room as we speak. And again, we've seen it all. This is at a different level. So tell people where we are, then we'll bring in the unbelievable creators of this fantasy. As I'm looking outside the porch, looking at beautiful snow on his beautiful enclosed porch, it's just an insane place.
Indeed, almost as insane as the drive up here in this big snowstorm that we're having right here. But so glad we made it here to the Roxbury Motel with owners Gregory Henderson and Joseph Massa, who've created this incredible experience. You might have seen our show a few months ago when we had these gentlemen on, but now we are here. We're getting to really experience what it's like, and I really love this alien encounter suite that I'm in here right now.
Yeah, you said Roxbury Hotel. We're at the Roxbury at Stratton Falls, my friend.
Right. It's all the same kind of a thing.
As a matter of fact, before we bring them in, can you show that video real quick of the falls that we shot a minute ago?
Sure can, unless you want to do a tour of the room first. What would you prefer, Anthony?
No, let's shoot the falls so people can really sense where we are.
All right, everybody, let's have a collective moment of Zen. Beautiful, beautiful waterfall there, Anthony Melchiori. I got caught up at the moment at the end. I didn't want it to end.
It doesn't do it justice, I'll be honest with you. Because in the summer or when it's not frozen over, it is, talk about Zen, it is one of the greatest places. It's just insane. So without further ado, why don't you introduce the creators of this unbelievable place?
All right, we've got Greg and Joe. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hey, everybody.
I love that we're all in the same place, but we're all in different places.
I know. It's so exciting.
Specialty Tower Cottage over here, and all part of the Roxbury experience. I'm really excited to be here at the Stratton Falls location. The main property is 2.2 miles down the road from here. I thought it was all the same complex when I was driving up here, so I was delighted to see this little enclave over here with this adorable, incredible, over-the-top cottages. And, of course, we're looking at the fairy forest in that fourth shot right there.
You know, so gentlemen, I know you've been on a show several times, but tell them where we are and what this is, and then we'll explain this cottage in particular.
So tell them where we are as far as the whole place, or individual.
What the place is about, and
Okay.
just what the amenities are, and all that.
Okay. So actually, Glenn, you brought up something interesting. Oftentimes in the winter, where it's like in the Catskills, it can be like Alaska a bit. People will arrive on a Friday night, going through kind of what you guys went through getting here this morning, when they use GPS, because for some reason the satellite, depending on where you're coming from, it can send you on this kind of a crazy wild goose chase. And they all say the same story. They're like, we didn't know if we were going to make it, and we were on this road that wasn't plowed yet, and then all of a sudden we turned the corner, and there was the Roxbury. But you said that, and David, your producer, said that, and Anthony said it. And that, to answer your question, Anthony, that's what we want. We want it to be like this escape that people leave their everyday lives, and the minute they turn that corner and go in the driveway, whether it's the Roxbury at Stratton Falls, you get more of that feeling with our newest property, which is where we are now, because the exterior architecture of that is more whimsical because it's outside of the village. Our original property, the Roxbury Motel, you get the fantasy and the whimsy more inside than you do on the outside. So it's more when you walk into the door of those rooms. But either way, it's about providing people a fantasy escape.
Yeah, and this is quite the fantasy escape for sure. Anthony, you want producer Dave to walk around and show us some more of that suite?
So producer Dave, why don't you walk around, and Joe and Gregory, why don't you explain what we're seeing?
This is the entryway as you walk in the door, and there's a balcony out to the right where those mushrooms are coming off. Yep, that's off the upstairs bedroom.
And you had like 30 people working on the design of this, right? You guys had nothing to do with it, right?
No, you're looking at the only two.
Yeah, I was in there by myself for a long time because as we were jumping in there, COVID hit, so
right.
I couldn't have anybody in there, so I was in there by myself for a long time. Yes.
So you created this, basically, you two gentlemen, and with your own hands and your own brain power. So what is your background, Joe? Tell people what your background is.
Well, many years ago, when I was a youngster, I started cabinet making, and then through the cabinet making, found my way into TV and theater construction. Accidentally, because I was trying to be an actor and a director, producer type person. So I worked in the union in New York City for a long time, building scenery. I was not a scenic artist, although I always wanted to be one, and so I was always trying to learn as I was going along.
You achieved it.
Thanks, and I just kind of teach myself as I'm going along.
Wow, look at that.
He's brilliant. He's very modest, but
yeah.
I don't know if you can see. Focus in on that shot right there.
It's blurry. If you're on a phone, touch the
center of the.
There you go. You can see a little better.
Yeah, it's a child.
Oh, wow.
It's a child's eye looking through this magical root from a tree, and the reason that's there is to when you come around the corner in the room, you suddenly become small. So you walk in, you're just a normal person. You're tall, you're big, or whatever. You're human, and then. Because we were always saying, well, are we big? Are we small? How do we do this? The room's only so big to work in. So then we came up with the idea that if you actually see just the eye of a child that's watching this fairyland through this magical hole, that we suddenly shrink as we're in there. We become smaller.
Wow.
Fairy size.
So when you stay in this cabin, you become a magical fairy yourself. And my favorite thing, I want to be sure and tell people if they come and stay with us, be sure and turn out all of the lights except for the fairy lights. They're actually, by trade, they're called firefly lights. And to your point earlier in the intro about Disney, I know Disney uses a lot of them. The company was founded by a guy who for a while only supplied Disney, but they're totally random. The lights are like if you sit in a field in the summer and watch the fireflies, it's not the kind of lights you see during the holidays. Each one is programmed to be totally different, and there's different colors. Right now, Anthony, if you look up and around you, you see some of them, but they really come alive at night. Yeah. So unfortunately, that cottage really isn't available now until next year, the demand has been so high.
Wow.
Which is partially also because of our what we do with COVID still, with keeping rooms offline. But we encourage people to always call, because the amount of cancellations are still crazy. So the reservations are always sporadic and like a patchwork. You can get in if you're at the right time.
Hey,
So
funny,
let's
just
go
like
to-
Disney
so let's-
World, as a matter of fact, because if you can't get a dining reservation, keep trying, and then you could eventually get in because someone cancels. So I like
Right.
the connections there. Anthony?
So let's go to, before we go to the other fantasies and we really start asking a lot of other different types of questions. As a hotelier, as a person that has to hold things that people create, okay, so if I was the general manager of this place and I had to clean this place, how do you clean this building? And let me be honest with you. When, again, I've been up here so many times watching you guys build it from, I've been through the tiers with you. And when I saw this, because this is your last cottage that you built, I was like,
Ever.
I don't think this is going to be my favorite. I really don't think this is going to be my favorite. And then I walked in, and I even said that to Glenn. I said, I don't think this is going to be my favorite. I walked in just now, and I was like, this is my favorite, period, end of story. But I started to have anxiety because how do you clean it?
Well, we started a process we're going to keep evolving to as we go along, trying to refine it. But we have blowers that are blowing all the leaves and stuff.
Right.
And we have air scrubbers, 2 air scrubbers, one upstairs, one downstairs. So we let that run for a while.
So I'll give the technical term is called a negative air machine. Air scrubbers gives you a better visual, right?
So
But, we were afraid of that exact same thing. First, Anthony, I want to go back to something you just said. You just called us hoteliers. One of my favorite words in the English language, and no one's ever actually called us that before, I think. So. or maybe hotelier, but hotelier.
Well, you are. You are at the top of hotelier.
But we got the idea. If you remember the Crown of the Pendragon cottage, that's like being in an old castle. We created these rock walls that go up 20 feet, 27 feet, or something really high. And those went up before the cobblestone floor went in. The cobblestone floor went in, and it's not that one. And the cobblestone floor had a tremendous amount of grout in it. And once they finished with the grout, we realized that this grout dust had gotten all over our newly completed walls.
Oh, God.
And in the chandelier that has this massive 3-tier crown chandelier. There it is. Yes. So there you can see the chandelier and everything. So our contractors at the time said, we should put in a negative air machine, because the contractors that we were working with did a lot of big hospital projects and so on. And negative air machines are what hospitals use when a part of the hospital has to be under construction and the rest of the hospital is still a functioning hospital. So they think in terms of just this giant thing that sucks. Basically, it's like a vacuum. And they put that in the Crown of the Pendragon suite,
Right.
with the fans blowing all the stuff around off of the walls. So the debris comes off of came off of the rock walls and went into the negative air machines. So Joseph had the idea, remembered doing that during construction. So we bought 2 of them, actually. So one gets stationed in the upstairs part of that cottage where you are. Another one gets stationed in the downstairs. Then Joe goes around with a
Air compressor.
Thank you.
And fans. We have everything kind
fans.
of blowing for a while, trying to get stuff into the air, and then we turn those
So all
off.
that foliage and everything that you see everywhere, all the fake foliage, if you've ever seen or worked with an air compressor, you know how powerful that can be. The key is you can't get too close to it because you want to blow the leaves off.
Right.
But you get it all stirred up, and then the other things suck it down in. So, and then the rest of the stuff is not rocket science. It's just like with everything we do, it's just wiping down every surface. But we just experimented. I'm sorry?
One of the things you're doing that really nobody else now on Earth is doing is you're holding these rooms for a day offline before you even let anybody else come into these rooms, correct?
Correct. And there's a whole variety of reasons for that. And we almost stopped in September when everybody was getting more comfortable with everything, and the summer it was a little better, and we almost stopped doing it, and then that other surge hit, and I was so grateful that we didn't, because I think you and I have talked about some stories where, you know, people would call in and say, oh, we should let you know we just stayed in your room and we just tested positive, and we're like, I mean, granted, things are better now, but we always had that comfort of knowing that the room was going to be offline for 24 hours for our staff, first and foremost. Not that the guests are also important too, for both of them. The problem with us, as evidenced by where you are, Anthony, or where we all are, is it takes a whole crew of people to come in here and clean. And cleaning is physical labor. Mm-hmm. So you get hot, you're wearing a mask, but it's very, you know, sometimes the mask slips off and whatever. And if we went back to the way it was before, where when we're busy, a guest asks for a late checkout at noon instead of the 11 o'clock checkout, and they're checking out at noon and someone else is checking back in at 3. Right. First of all, we need more people. And secondly, you have to get into the room as soon as someone leaves, as soon as the guest leaves. So right now, while things are still scary and they're talking about this other variant coming out of the UK and so on, to go back to that and having to turn the rooms so quickly, our gut just says it's still not the right time yet.
No. And we can clean the air with ozonating machine, but then that takes a while for that to get out of the air. You can't walk in, you know, you'd suffocate. So those are great machines and they do a great job, but you have to give them time, to give the room time to air out afterwards.
You know, and now that it's, you know, everything is more in rural areas, the virus is everywhere. You know, in the beginning, we were more worried about us getting it, our staff and us, from our guests. Now it's just as much, you know, bringing it in from the outside with your own, just like you hear on the news everywhere, with your own life. So when you need to get a lot of people of our staff into the room at the same time, it's not good to have so many people together. So,
Anthony, you're muted. Hold on one second. For some reason, you're muted.
So, David, David, our producer, I'm going to ask you to come out of the shot, get your boots on, go outside and show the outside of these beautiful cottages.
Oh my God!
And maybe go down to where the sign is when you turn into the Roxbury, and give people a sense of that. So we
can hear the snowplow. So tell him to be careful of the snowplow.
Yeah, the snowplow's out there.
So one of the things we've spoken about before is, and I really mean this, you should be able to start your own hospitality school. And I mean that sincerely. That's not a joke. From financing to design to hospitality to luxury, because what I want to make clear to people is this is luxury. From the faucets to the amenities to the smells. I mean, even the hand sanitizer had a beautiful smell. When I came into the lobby, I took a beautiful shot of the breakfast room. This is high-end luxury.
You notice everything.
You feel comfortable.
We have local hand sanitizer too.
Yeah.
From the local distillery.
Yes.
I love that. I was wondering when there'd be bespoke hand sanitizers coming out.
Well, and the local hand sanitizer is from our friend who owns the vodka distillery. So it has a slight like vodka smell to it. So sometimes people be like, oh, my hands haven't smelled like this since I was, you know, in college, but whatever. But the smell that you're talking about, Anthony, yes, that's purposefully put there in the lobbies for the fragrance.
Okay.
And thank you for the comment about luxury, because it is something that, and you always read my mind. It's something we fight all the time because people see the fantasy and see what we create, and there can be a negative connotation with a theme hotel, and journalists in particular want to always use the word kitsch,
right.
And it just drives us crazy. And
right.
There is an element of, I mean, there is an element of that.
But that doesn't mean
they're not. It's not luxury, and so we're often left out. I'm very grateful. We've gotten a lot of good press this year and been in, you know, top 10 lists. So I'm not complaining.
But can I disagree with you for a second? Can I say something? As a person that has felt this place since the beginning, it's not kitsch, and it's not even a theme. When people say it's themed, when you walk into some place, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be a hotel, or whether you're driving a car, if you feel the inspiration of that car, if you feel the inspiration of that dining room, or if you feel the inspiration of this resort, and you feel like right now I'm looking outside, looking at the beautiful snowfall, and I'm surrounded by what I feel is the outside, but it's warm and it's obviously climate controlled, and I can go use the potty. I don't feel like this is themed. I just feel that it is. And that's the difference. Again, as a person that has a very unique perspective of traveling around the world looking at themed hotels and extreme hotels for 2 years straight in 15 different countries, and I've seen all these kind of themed hotels. And this is not that. When I walked into those resorts and those rooms, I felt like they're trying to make it something. I don't walk in here and feel like you're trying to make this something. I feel like it just is.
That's my new quote.
I like that. Yeah.
All right. So
it just is.
yeah. Speaking about things being in, take a look outside of what's going on here. I'll put that a little
Well,
bit.
that's a terrible shot.
Yeah.
That's
look
the quote. Here we go.
There. Sorry, guys. It looks better in a small window.
Now, David, try to get close to that sign to see the detail of that sign. Go to
How
that
does
sign.
David hear you? Does he have headphones on or something?
Yes, he has my headphones on.
Wow, cool.
Do me a favor, just describe the sign.
I love this.
Actually, if he gets close,
right now.
he should be able to see the lights in the waterfall if you get really close to the waterfall part of the sign, David.
Yeah, if you see it at night, it's a totally different experience.
But it's just that level of detail is unbelievable.
Not that light. There's actually lights in the water. Those little streaks coming down.
Oh, cool.
I
I
don't
don't know. Maybe it's not on.
Oh, super close up.
Wow. No, there you can see them. So at night, that's really cool.
Okay, David, we get it, David. You're doing too good of a job.
But in terms, Anthony, of thinking about everything which we try and we don't, there's so many mistakes. We obsessed over that light because the last thing we want is for it to be too Vegas, too. Like it wouldn't make sense in this area. So it's finding, like like starting the cottages further back from the road. In the summer, you don't even see them. You can see the trees, see them through the trees now.
We've obsessed over that sign. That is so ridiculous that you even say that. What haven't you obsessed over? That's just an insane. You're obsessed over everything. There's
everything.
So don't use that word anymore. This place is an obsession.
It is, and to the point of we have to find a way not to. But that's more for a conversation with a therapist that I need to find soon.
It must be hard to
we can't. I mean, just last night we had staff texting and emailing us up until almost 10 o'clock. So it's you get this much detail, you get that many things going wrong too.
Right.
So, but that's another story, and it's still very, very, very much worth it. It's just a lot because we're not a Marriott or a Hilton. The buck stops
Thank
here.
God.
Yeah.
God.
Right. Yeah.
We ultimately there isn't someone else to. It's not like a large corporation or a job where you can just. It's my day off and someone else will take care of it. We're still at the point where it's usually us that has to take care of it. That doesn't mean we don't have a wonderful staff that doesn't take care of a million things. Most of you are watching, you take care of a million things. But ultimately, if it's something serious or not so serious, we have to be involved, and it's a lot with a property like this.
Right. All right. We're gonna go back to Dave's shot right here. Let's look at that.
Okay. Just don't, David. Just walk. Don't even.
Yeah. Don't get hit by that.
Yeah, but don't even everybody just watch this. I know people that are listening on our podcast, you can't watch it, but it is just, it's breathtaking. I've seen it so many times now, and it's breathtaking. So explain what we're seeing, guys.
Right now, you're seeing, it moved, but you're seeing the tower cottages. So each of the ones you're looking at now, those are duplexes, meaning if you look closely, you'll see 2 entry doors. So each one of those buildings have 2 units. Actually, if you go back, David, to where you were, that first one there is called the Fairy Forest. The tree there is covering up the top of it a little bit. It's got what we call a Smurf hat. We wanted it to extend out further and be thatched. And yeah. So that's where Anthony is sitting right now.
Based on a thatched roof.
Yes. Then next to that is the unit called Cinderella's Gown. Then you have our castle building, where on the left-hand side is called Dracula's Fangs, where you can kind of see the fangs there in the shot of the entryway. Did you just stop or did it freeze?
It looked like it froze. So I'll
Yeah,
check
okay.
it out for a second.
Okay.
And
that's
David, if you
beautiful.
can hear me, once you start shooting the cottages, then you start walking up to the main house, because I want to show the main house as well.
All right, so let's do that. So I'm in Galileo's Gate right now. Downstairs, it looked like it was very focused on Galileo, but up here, suddenly I've been swept away by aliens, and I'm somewhere in outer space. What's going on with this place?
Well, that was kind of that room was my concept. I'm into the show Ancient Aliens. You ever watch that?
I've seen it a couple of times, especially that crazy guy with the
Well,
phone.
it gets more and more into, it's been getting right? It's been getting deeper and deeper into archaeology and stuff, and it's kind of a fascinating show. In the beginning, people thought it was kind of hokey and stuff, but anyway, Galileo was an architect as well, and part of what's it called? I'm having a brain moment.
Astrology?
No,
Astronomy?
Telescope?
the Masons, the Masons.
Oh, the
temple.
Freemasons.
Yeah,
Freemasons. They were, so most people like that, they're all part of the Freemasons, which has a connection to all that alien stuff.
That's
And
true.
because there's always a story about like Galileo disappeared for a few days, and then he came back with some sort of knowledge. Where did he get the knowledge from? He said he spoke to some special person that gave him the knowledge to do these things. So and if you were watching Ancient Aliens or one of those TV shows, you would say, well, the aliens who are our ancestors and seeded the earth or whatever, this is where the knowledge comes from. And so there's a connection in those two worlds. So downstairs is Renaissance, you go upstairs, it goes into that alien world.
On that show, and I used to tease Joe with this, they say, ancient astronaut theorists say.
Yeah.
Right.
So when we were building, so the idea was you go from the Renaissance into this alien galaxy, as if maybe Galileo had a visit from ancient aliens, and that's
Right.
how he came up with a lot of his inventions.
Well, what's really cool about this particular suite that I'm in, and we're looking at the gorgeous main house over here as well, is there's a 3-story spiral staircase, right? That I'm on the second level right now, but then I could go up to the third level, and there's this great observation area that I could see 360-degree views of everything around us, plus a telescope. So when you're not having a giant snowstorm, you can see all the stars, and there's real stars up here, not like down in New York City.
It's a great place when there's a full moon to be up there. And we just had a wolf moon, which was incredible, an orange moon that came up. It was fantastic.
And it was breathtaking up there. And we need to get better instructions up there, because having a telescope with people calling at midnight asking how to use it isn't always the best thing. But that doesn't happen very often.
And right now, after the year that we had politically and from our from COVID, people need an escape. And this is an escape like you grab your bag, you go to a hotel, and you go to the pool. This is an escape that literally within a couple of hours, you don't feel you feel like abnormal, which means normal. Because when you really think of who you are and what you want it to be, when you're here, you're allowed to start feeling that. You're allowed to start feeling back to who you are. So I highly recommend it, not because I love you guys and not because I mean, you guys are basically sold out. You guys are doing great.
It doesn't matter if you recommend it.
but this is almost needed for people. Like I'm begging people, make sure you book a room here, because a cottage here, or just come up here. It is an insane feeling that you really can't get anymore. And I'm telling you, I needed it. One of the reasons I wanted, we were doing another show yesterday at the Resorts World, and I said, hey, let's also go to the Roxbury Motel up here. And it was kind of selfish. I just needed to come up here and breathe a little bit, and to see you guys, and to make sure you guys are still okay.
Yeah. The only thing tragic about this whole thing is that we have to leave today, Anthony. We don't get to stay here.
I was thinking about staying tonight, but I can't even stay because they're booked.
Can you guys just come every day?
I know.
Because it is a lot. So that kind of effusiveness is wonderful.
So there's 2 questions I have for you, which I think is important. And one of the things that we talk about here a lot is young people in hospitality, or even people that, like one of my clients, Ross, is on here. I'm actually going to see him in Florida in a couple of weeks to look for a property with him and for him. And so there's two things at play here. One, the details of the financing, of the marketing, I mean, even when you were looking at a PR company, all the effort you put into the PR company and getting the right PR company, and you went up in CBS news program and everything blew up. The level of detail, like what keeps you on track of that level of detail, not to give up that level of detail? And also, how long you guys have been married?
Well,
How long you been together? How long you been
That's quite
together?
the non sequitur there.
Legally in 2014.
but
Right.
we've been
So
together
there's
since
two parts.
1990, so 31 years.
1990. What's the secret
there's
to
two
staying with
parts,
each other
right?
for so long?
One is the level of detail and the intensity, and two, how do you keep a relationship without killing each other?
Yeah.
We're both dead here, actually. We're taking some magic potion to keep us.
I think
You're actually just in another fantasy room when we're not really here.
we thrive on it on some level. I mean, the period where we weren't creating together, which was my period on Wall Street, and Joseph actually moved up to the Catskills first. It was about a 3-year period, 3 or 4 year period, and it was that was the hardest time in our relationship, and the hardest, that when we were the most unhappy because we weren't creating together.
Right.
That's not to say that the past few months of dealing with COVID, of never having an outlet and just going home at night, because we were never in quarantine. We were always here. So we were always coming here, but then just taking everything home to our little cabin where we live at night and have one bathroom. You know, we own, I don't know, 60 something toilets, and we share one at home. That has been tough, because lately in particular, we've had to have a pact where we don't bring up work at home or just bring up anything negative, because it's just too much.
In our relationship at home, my wife and I, we have to tell each other if we're going to criticize each other.
Like beforehand.
No criticism rule. That's how, that's
Yes.
our
But one thing I'd also like to say about the fantasy and so on, just to also, you were saying the question was about your energy or why do you do it? For me, it's like an insane, sick need to please and fear of failure, I think, which I've got to get a better grip of.
How about Joe? I want to hear from Joe. Joe, how would you handle? Because I love you both, but he's a little bit. So when he's a little bit, what do you do to kind of like manage that?
Tequila.
What's that? What did he say?
Tequila.
No, when we're both a lot to deal with, but
Yes.
When we're on site, we're doing different things. So I'm keeping busy. I'm either out on the property somewhere or in a room fixing something or feeding the fish. So what he does and what I do are two different things. So I'm not involved in the day-to-day office stuff. We started that in the very beginning. I was in the office too. And, kind of pretty soon after we started that, Greg was like, "You're not in the office anymore. You're going to do."
It wasn't an order like that, but it didn't work very well.
So Greg, tell Joe what I said when I came up here, and I said just now when I saw you for the first time, I said, "Where's Joe?" And what did you say?
I said feeding the fish,
and
you said he's always feeding the fish.
Yeah,
well, I used an F word in there somewhere.
there was, but that where he feeds the fish, it's at one of our cottages called the Archaeologist's Digs, which is not on this property. It has a saltwater aquarium in it. In fairness to Joe, that basement also serves as his office. So when he's in there, he's not always feeding the fish. It's just what we call it amongst the staff.
So wait, you have
I'm buying and purchasing things
separate from here?
I'm sorry?
There's another cottage in a different complex?
Yes. So at the motel part, and all motel really means is exterior access doors.
That's right.
We never would have had the confidence to build this whole property without the success of the cottage called the Archaeologist's Digs, which is at the motel. But I want to clarify something too. I don't get a chance to say this very often. The original motel and some of our original smaller theme rooms, they are fun and whimsical and I just love, because my office is over there, I still love hearing the reactions. When I'm in my office, I can hear the screams and the excitement. But they don't have as much detail as the tower cottages. They're not all 2-story. We still have a wide range of, which is, in all fairness to some publications, which is why we're not always included in top 10 luxury hotel lists, because we still have rooms that are 260 square feet and $138 a night. During off season, during the week, are $99 a night. So you get the gambit here, and there's a more affordable, as much as I hate that word, experience that you can get here as well. But something that we're fighting, and you were asking me about what drives me, because of the more press we've had lately, I feel like we're constantly managing expectations and living up to expectations, that people want every room to be this transformational thing. And some of our original rooms are not. They're good, clean, fun, whimsical hotel rooms, a handful of them. They're not being in a fairy kingdom. So I'm constantly driven with those rooms on making them as much as they can be for what makes sense with what their rate is.
So in talking all through that and the different levels you have here, and I don't lie to me, okay?
Uh-oh.
Okay, I want you to tell me
lie.
the truth. This question should probably be asked 6 months to a year from now, but I'm going to ask it now because we're family. What's your next project?
Nothing. Retirement.
I said don't lie to me. I said no. It's unacceptable.
Everyone,
Write this down.
He's not ready to answer that question yet.
I gotta get my arms.
I'm always.
Better answer. You're not ready to answer the question.
What?
I have my ideas, but I can't. No.
He's afraid I'll get mad.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's my thing. It's like, that's a better answer, is we're not ready to answer that question. Do not tell me there's not another project in both of your brains. The world needs that other project.
Yeah, of course there is. There's all sorts of fantasies. Oh, I mean, if we had our way and money was no object, even with the experience that we've got here, there would be so many things to add to it, to take it to a complete all senses realm of fantasy with fresh food and savory experience and scent experience. There's a whole gambit of things that I fantasize about. But the real thing, there is one. We built Stratton Falls with a bar, and it would only be for our guests. But it's all there, ready to go. Well, actually, no, it's not ready to go. So that's the next project, is when we can do that safely. That will be the next thing to really get ready. That, and bringing back our massage treatments. It's all set up at the other motel, although we're not giving them. But here at Stratton Falls, that whole part of our cabana and spa hasn't opened. So if there's any therapists out there watching, or if you know people, we need to get ready for when we can open that back up.
And right now we're looking at the Galileo room, and that's Galileo Galilee right there. Dave's having a little trouble hearing us right now, but he's showing off some great sights. That's
the downstairs bathroom with the mosaic tile of Galileo. And I love it that you know his whole name.
And this is one of the bedrooms. Tell us about what we're looking at. Besides
that was a bedroom, and Joseph talked about the Freemasons earlier. That has a Mason symbol above the bed. But now he's getting ready to ascend the spiral staircase, it looks like.
Go to one shot, Glenn. Go to a one shot on this.
I will, right now. Wow.
So can we say what a nightmare that was to get that spiral staircase installed?
Yeah, when I was walking up it, I was wondering. I figured it comes in different sections, but how did you even get it all the way to the top?
Oh, I don't even know how to begin to explain everything.
There's an alien peeking up over the corner over there. It's an alien skull. Reminds me of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull there in the bottom left corner.
Yes, good analogy. And then there's there's 4 aliens in the 4 corners of the suite standing guard. If David can hear me, if he can stay on that portrait there, that large portrait. So that is a blow up of one of my favorite paintings of all time now. It's of Galileo presenting the telescope to the Doge of Venice for the first time. And people who know, Galileo history, he was thrown in jail and everything for having a new, for his theories on science. So that wallpaper underneath the arches was a wonderful eureka moment, because it had those same archways that you have in that original painting, which was from Marco's Square in Venice. Anyway, so now he's going up
on the third floor now, looking out that observation area of the 360 views that I mentioned earlier. Go on, Greg.
Yes. So anyway, I was just talking about Venice, but yes, so there's the telescope. And right now, clearly there's snow on the roof. It doesn't, even when it's really packed, the heat, by the end of the day, that will come off, so the views are still good at night.
That's got to be phenomenal to look straight up at the clouds. I meant the stars that way. I say clouds because we don't have stars, where I'm from.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
And if you're here at night, it is beautifully illuminated, we like to think, but we spent a lot of time and effort, and money for that matter, on lighting that was not uplighting. There is some architectural uplighting, like of the Greek statues and some of the other things. But all of the other lighting, we tried to keep the lighting pollution down as much as possible. Number one, because you're in the country. And number two, so that you could still see the stars from that observation deck.
Awesome. I've never seen such universal praise for a hotel we featured on this show before. The fact that not only so many people are commenting on it, but so many people have actually stayed here and had incredible experiences, just a real testament to you, gentlemen. So congratulations on that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Normally that's an Anthony comment, so thank you, Glenn.
When you go to a hotel, the one thing you don't want to do is stay in the room. When you come up here, the only thing you want to do is stay in the room.
Well, that was part of our plan when we were originally coming up back in the 80s. There wasn't much happening up here at all, and if you found a place to stay, you didn't want to stay in the room. You just were out, you were hiking all day or fishing or doing whatever you're doing. You just came in to crash at night.
Oh my God, get this comment. Getting ready for our 25th stay tomorrow.
Hey, Adam. We know that's Adam and Ellen. Yes. Bless their hearts.
So that was part of our goal, is that when you come and if there was bad weather, was snowing or whatever, that you didn't have to leave, that you might want to just hang out in the room and do whatever, play games or just sleep. And incredibly, a lot of people just do that. They come in, they check in, we don't see them until they're leaving.
So when my daughter came up here during Christmas and you said you never saw them, they didn't want to leave the room. So, but when do you start enjoying this? Because I enjoy it because I didn't build it and I have to worry about it. But when do you start? Like I asked you before, your banker's happy, and you said, yeah, kind of. So when do you start enjoying this?
When I get that good therapist who teaches me how to do it.
Okay.
No, there have been incredible moments. Some of them with you right now. The CBS thing was, life changing in a way. But here I go. One that really stands out is right after we opened after COVID, when we thought we were going to go bankrupt and we didn't. There was a moment. Stop it, Greg.
Stop it, Greg.
There was a moment in bed at night in our cabin, and it was the first moment of we did it. It was full. It was like the third weekend in June. The rooms were full. We weren't going to go bankrupt, and that was probably one of the best feelings of my life. So there's been plenty of moments of enjoyment. We just need them to last longer, like more like a whole day without all the blinds that you just ordered, you discovering that they're all malfunctioning, that kind of thing.
So Joe, when was your moment?
My moment of enjoyment?
What was your moment when you like, hey, we're not going to go bankrupt? Was it the same moment?
Well, whenever he's able to relax, I have a good moment. Yes. When he's not stressed, whenever Greg can relax for a moment, then that's my good moment. When you two people together, you feed off each other. If your partner's stressed, you're stressed. It goes back and forth. So unfortunately, it can be a vicious cycle sometimes. So when he's relaxed, I'm relaxed, and that's a good
I don't think he ever worried about being bankrupt. He has so much confidence in me that I don't think you were ever even really worried about it.
I don't worry. I mean, you can't. It's hard to worry about things that you can't touch and feel. I guess maybe I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you just have to have faith in what you created and let it go. It's like opening a show. You have to have faith in that there's going to be an audience that's going to enjoy it, and at the end of the night, they're going to applaud. That's what I'm more on the directing producer side, and that's my vision. That's my faith. I used to say theater is like a faith.
This is incredibly moving.
And he used to say that to me when we were doing theater as well. We traveled the country for 5 years and never knowing where the next city was going to be, and a one-man show that we co-wrote together and that I starred in and he directed. And so nothing has really changed much since 1992.
Daniel, who's one of our favorite fans, he said something. He goes, things will be amazing. You have Anthony. Let me explain something to you. I've had take that off because I can't even look at it, because you have to understand something. I had nothing to do with this. Nothing outside of inspiration and them being my friends and giving them positive thoughts and feelings. I had zero to do with this project. So please don't anybody think I have anything to do with this. I am just a fanboy like you've never ever seen. And when you were telling this story, when you were in bed and you had that moment of, oops, I just dropped my mic. When you had that moment of, wow, I don't think we're going to go bankrupt. I felt that as much as you felt it, because I saw every little detail that you guys did. And I remember those phone calls and you're like, I don't know if we're going to make this. And I probably said some positive things because I felt what Joe felt. It's like, this will happen. And so to know that you had that moment yourself, that is the moment that we all try to get to in our life. Put a dream out there that everyone tells you is not possible. Put a dream out there that you have to work so hard for that it almost kills you. And then at the moment that your dream was realized, that's life. That's right. What we all aspire to, period. And so that you had that moment is just so inspirational. Joe, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Do you remember, what was it, the 80s or the 70s, the creative visualization? There was always books about creative visualization.
Right.
It was catchphrase, everybody was talking about. I never really understood it, and it took me much longer in life to really, because I kept trying to, be creative, trying to make
we both read it before we knew each other.
But then, I really came to understand it later on and how it connects to everything I did in my life, which is you see the end first. You create the room in your head, you make it, it's real, it's alive, and then you just find your way there. And you have to have faith that you're going to find your way there because it's already existing in your mind.
It's
already somewhere in the universe. You just have to get there.
And not to be negative, but because we're I love what you guys are saying, but you don't have to mention the person or if there was a specific person. But what was the number one thing that stands out of someone saying, this is a fantasy, get back to real life, this isn't going to happen? Anyone? Or is everybody?
I'll say the president of Graduate Hotels is a fan of what you're doing, so that's pretty cool.
I'm sorry, who?
The president of Graduate Hotels, a brand that we also really love a lot. And David, we got to get you back on the show. We'll reach out to you. Anyway, please.
Thank you.
Hi, David. Go ahead.
What was it?
There were so many. I don't even know. I wouldn't be able to even say one. I think. But really, I was so laser focused that I really, and I knew I couldn't listen to the naysayers because we have done 4 other construction projects prior to this, nothing of this scale, but we weren't new kids on the block with construction. We knew what we were getting ourselves in for, although we didn't. It's about the same story because it wound up being so hard.
Yeah,
but I was so laser focused that because when you take that big of a risk, when you risk everything that you own, everything in your whole life, and I'm not we're not the first to do that. classic, right? But when you're also of a certain age, and that there's no retirement, there's no this and that, and you're already a bit maybe not in the world's eye, but certainly in the microcosm where we live and what people expect of you, the stakes were really high. So failure was not an option. That doesn't mean that I didn't have a daily meltdown.
No, and there was a lot of constant stuff throughout construction, just trying to convince the contractors, the people working, that what they were doing was real. I mean,
Right.
they were constantly questioning it. Like, I'm just going way back to the very, very beginning when we first opened the motel. Greg wanted to paint the doors lime green, and the painter stood there with a paintbrush for hours saying, "Are you sure you want me to put this paint on these doors? Are you sure?" And Greg was like, "Paint the doors." And then he would walk away and he would come back, "Greg, are you sure you want this?" And Greg, finally was, "Paint the damn doors." But we went through that kind of a moment through this entire project as well. Are you sure you want those statues? How are you going to do? Where are you going to? Who? Are you sure you want to do this? Can we cut this? And Greg was always like, "No, it's in the plans. We're building it." In fact, the concept architect that Greg worked with for a couple of weeks, designing the old exterior, he had said something towards the end saying, "No one ever makes what I design. I come up with these great ideas and they take part of it and they do it." And he said, "This is like the first project that anyone's ever just finished it the way it was, the way it's on the drawing." In fact, we still have the drawing. We used to have it in the lobby, and you look at the drawing, you look at the buildings, they look the same.
Wow. Anthony, you're muted again. Anthony, you're muted.
We can't hear you, Anthony.
I
remember when you were first talking to me about this, and we were in the mansion, and we've talked about that before. But so what you told me is what I see. But I want to specifically talk about that painting above your head, because people may think that that's a wallpaper, or like, talk about that, because I saw the gentleman painting that like it seemed like a year. Talk about that. And I'm sure he has back.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I keep going back in my head saying I got to give Chris a plug. I got to give Chris a plug. This was painted by an artist named Chris Cannionberg, who we've known way back since 2006, I think.
Right.
When he stayed in the original motel, he's been part of every project. And yes, this it was not supposed to be this elaborate in the beginning, because I just didn't think, we just wouldn't have the time. And we didn't realize just how much he could channel Michelangelo, because you're only seeing an 18th of
Chris
it.
wanted to do
Right.
it.
And this is the Terrazza of the Titans room, correct?
Yes.
Cottage.
Yes.
Right.
So he was up, and what you can't see is we're sitting on the upper platform in Terrazza of the Titans. As you go into the second story bedroom, there's a big drop off here that's connected by a spiral staircase, and this ceiling is super high. So poor Chris was up on what's it called?
A man lift.
A man lift with a neck brace.
That sounds sexy.
Through countless. He's a night owl, so through countless nights getting it done.
Yeah, and he was working basically by himself, so because he couldn't be in here that much during the day with the rest of the other crew here and stuff. So
it's Wish Unlimited, for anybody in the hotel industry out there watching, is the name of his company. He's based out of Wilmington, Delaware, and it's called Wish Unlimited.
And I'll tell you, watching him is one of the things I remember about this project the most, because I literally said that's when maybe I said, "You guys are out of your effing minds." Like that's when I started to be like, dude, there's a million ways to do this. A guy with a paintbrush, like upside down, like no, there's got to be an easier way to do this. So to me, this project comes down to that painting, that and the pumpkin.
Well, that's another Joe masterpiece. But just in the theater world, or now in all worlds with online reviews, you're only as good as your last review. So we're constantly living up to that. There are still so many things that, we still don't know really what's going to happen with COVID. It's not like the fear of bankruptcy and all those fears are gone. And there's the constant fear of, I don't want it to ever get tarnished or old or stale. We got to keep it refreshed and keep things new and keep that experience going so that we're not letting anybody down.
So that's what. So right now, Glenn is showing the cottage that you're in.
Thank you. Yeah.
So is there a picture on your website that shows that beautiful painting that he can pull up?
If he keeps scrolling, if he clicks on that main image, and we're sitting right there above, you can kind of see where we're sitting. We're looking at that big statue. If you click on that, and then scroll down, and then click on where the little click on images, then you can scroll through photos. Yep. So, and keep going, and you'll see. There it is.
Look, okay, so what is this shot? Tell me this shot.
So that is as if you were lying down on the floor in the living room, looking up at the mural. It doesn't give the vastness of it, but the central figure is Zeus there with the spear, and then on all four sides and on all walls, it tells the story of a battle going on between the good Greek gods and the Titans.
And just so everyone understands, and
you can keep scrolling too, Glenn.
But just so everybody understands, stay on that picture, please. Yeah, all right, or stay on that picture. These aren't these are real photos. These aren't illustrations. So everything. So not only is the picture beautiful and design beautiful, but even the photography is at that level of insanity. And this is a good place to plug your photographer.
Nils Schlebusch, thank you. And people can email me. He's a photographer of German and Spanish heritage who lives in the States now and just does beautiful work. And he's based out of Woodstock. He was in the city for many years, but he's based out of the Woodstock area. So for us, that was good because he was close by.
Yeah. And I want anybody that say this isn't luxury to come have a conversation with me.
There's a few magazines that I'll tell you about then.
Yeah, you may not want them to look at that. Stay there. Stay there.
I am.
Why? How is this not a 5-star hotel bathroom?
You're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
Actually, that's actually my favorite image. I love that mosaic tile in that bathroom. There's something about her expression.
I think, Anthony, you need to come up with a new term for us to use instead of theme, because I think, there's been so many themed hotels in the past, all over the country, at least, that have a bad connotation that people, from childhood experiences or whatever, that they're immediately throwing us into that category. It's sort of a similar hurdle we had to get over in the very beginning when we were a motel, because we bought a strip motel. We had to get over that hurdle too and say, wait a minute, motels aren't bad, and they were very hip and cool in the 60s, and we're just bringing it back and breathing some new life into it. So those two things have always been hurdles for us. But
yeah, and I want to work overtime on coming up with a name, but you guys are a lot smarter than me. But really, as a fan, and anybody, there's a bunch of fans, right? There's a bunch of people that come here, and they're not your guests. They're not even your family. We're your fans, right? And very few
Uh-oh. Now we have no idea what he's going to say.
Oh
my goodness.
I like how he's looking.
We're fans of yours.
That's pretty awesome.
Right now,
there we go.
As
Anthony,
a fan,
could you please repeat yourself?
but as a fan,
for a second.
Yeah,
we lost you for a bit there, Anthony.
Start from your
fan,
beginning of your thought.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So as a fan, we need you for your next project because, again, we just had David, the president of Graduate. He just made a comment about that we're all hoteliers. And, he comes from a Cornell background. He comes from a finance background. But he is you guys are the same people because he understands the level of detail. What they're doing at Graduate Hotels, it's the only company I know of, branded hotel company I know of, that is doing something like you're doing. You're doing it at the same level, but they're doing it on a really bigger scale. And when I walk through their hotels, I feel almost the same type of feeling of they really understand that you're not building guests, you're building fans. So I'm a fan of the Graduate Hotel. And I love that David came on here and he said the comment, if you can pull it up again if you find it.
I'll try to find it.
But I love that comment that we're all hoteliers because we have to have a passion. And when I'm around David, whether we're on a construction site or when I'm walking through one of his beautiful hotels, and David said at the end of the day, we are all innkeepers at heart, regardless of the brand or concept. And if you don't have passion, you are in the wrong business. Let the tears flow. And it's true. I was just on a conversation with a friend of mine I've worked with for 30 years, and we haven't been on a project for a while, and we're starting a new project. And somebody said, why do you like working with Anthony? And he says, because he's just excited all the time. and it's true. I'm so excited about this business, and that you're able to have the brain power and the resources to figure this out. And again, we've said it before on the other shows when we've had you on, you guys didn't have tons of money. Like, you're doing this on the skin of your teeth. So when you say bankrupt, like, we're not kidding. Like, you could have been easily bankrupt for generations.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Not just checking out too much.
Hence the fear, and part of what was driving me, both of us. But I guess I'm the one that worries about money more. But that, and also just very healthy fear of failure and creative fear, because Joe has the ability to visualize it probably better than I do, because he knows the steps. Although I do, most of the concepts are mine, but I'm not always necessarily visualizing it. It's more, this works with this, and this builds on this, this builds with this. But there's always the fear of, oh my God, what if this just looks awful? And there have been those moments, where it's like, oh, that is a really bad choice. But there's no money when you're on a budget. There's going to be no money to redo it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? One of my favorite things so far of talking to you guys today is when Joe said the concept that you guys put down and what you guys realize is the same thing, and that you keep saying the word trust. Joe trusts that you're going to figure out your part. He knows he's got to go through maybe some stress and emotion, but he trusts that you're going to get there. And you trust when Joe goes into the room, closes the door, that magic's going to happen. And when you're in a partnership, not only in a marriage, in a family, but in a business relationship, that ability to trust each other without question is why this has been so successful.
Aw. I love that look, Greg. That was like real.
He does
make him cry.
He does doubt, though. He had moments
about
in
myself.
Fairy Forest, and then I had the confidence that was like, no, honey, look at what you did with Marianne's coconut cream pie, with the pumpkin, with so many other things, when you were doubting yourself in there.
Wow, that was a great Gilligan's Island reference, by the way.
Yeah, and bless her heart, Dawn Wells passed away recently. But anyway,
Yeah. So it's just overwhelming. This whole place is overwhelming. What is in all the beautiful places you have here, all the rooms and all the nooks and crannies, and my favorite place is actually where I'm sitting right now, looking over the beautiful woods with the snow on it and this beautiful deck. What is your favorite? I'm going to ask Joe. What is your favorite place?
I knew you can ask that. Yeah, people always ask because it's so hard to answer the question.
No, I don't want to ask that question. Then I don't want to ask questions other people are asking. Screw that question.
It's multiple times per day. I don't know, Joe. My standard answer is always, and this is the truth. I always tell the truth. Is that we don't have children, but it's very much what I think having children is like. I love them all in different ways. Sometimes different ones are misbehaving, and maybe I get a little upset with them. But I love them all because they're all my creations in different ways.
And they know how to go through all your money. So just
yes.
And just like children, they're never off your payroll.
Yeah, but every day, like yesterday, I was in Dracula, and I was like, oh my God, I just love this room. I'd forgotten I hadn't been in there for a while. So each one offers a renewal every time I go in there. I see something different that I'd forgotten about. Or I'll walk into a room that I did, like the pumpkin. I was like, hey, you know what? That looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
But when you're in it and you're involved, you lose sight of those things. So it's important to go away and come back. But I see it, just to answer your question a little more, it's kind of like walking into, like a snow globe. And so every time you go into it, there's something different that comes out. So they're all together in one little globe.
Yeah, and and that was perfect timing. You said snow globe, and that great picture came up. And one of the things for me when people talk about the shows that we've created, when children, like yesterday, I was talking to a 9th grader, and she loves the show. There's something magical of when someone that age loves what I've done. A lot more to me. I'm very satisfied when anyone likes what I've created or what we've created. But when children love what I created or love our show, there's a new level, and just it gets me emotional every single time. How do you feel when a little 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, somebody was saying that their nephew or grandchild or whoever was singing to the fishes in the shower? Like, what does it feel like when these kids come and really see their fantasy come to life?
I love it.
There's nothing quite like it, and there's like the true definition of the verb squeal. Is one that I've learned, or I really get what that verb means now, because they're literally squeals of delight that we hear constantly, and there's nothing quite like it. But interestingly, though, Anthony, I would say, contrary to what you were saying, which you're welcome to, you're you. But for me, I kind of expect that from children, because of the childlike quality of a lot of what we've done. For me, it's when I get a squeal from an adult, and not to play a gender stereotype, but when it's a man,
Right.
With his family, and I hear him scream like a big old girl, not being sexist or anything, but we all know the expression, and it comes from a place of not being trying to be funny or whatever. Like, it's really real. There's nothing like that when it's coming from an adult.
Yeah.
One
And
of the
that's
great moments we had, or I had recently, was people who have become like friends of ours. Massimo, young, how old is he now? Just like
10, I think.
8 or 10. Anyway, he loves coming here so much. He always has to come. He talks about it all the time in school, and he does these drawings and stuff. So he's been inspired to actually, he wants to paint or create something for us to be part of the rooms one day. And to me, that was so touching to me. It was a wonderful moment.
There's a whole generation of children that we've watched grow up, which is, again,
including my children.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Ones from before the parents were even pregnant, and ones that have had their gender reveals by changing the turrets, the turret lights. I mean, it's to your point about fans. Fans, it always makes me cringe a little bit, because there's something, I don't know, for obvious reasons, probably, because it's more than that.
It's interesting that you said that you expect children to have that feeling, but not the adults. And that's why it's so different for us, because I expect adults to look at my show and go, oh, this is a good business show. This is an interesting
Good
show.
point.
But an 11-year-old looking
Exactly.
at my show
Good
and learning about
yes.
business is fascinating to me. So and again, whether it be David from Graduate Hotels or us, or even Glenn, who's just as much a hospitality expert or hotelier as we are, like, these are the moments we live for when we see projects like this. I mean, I know, Glenn, talk about that, because I mean, you love stuff like this.
I really do love stuff like this. And it's that level of detail. It's like you could go and you could have your basic property, right? Then you could upgrade it. But the level of interest that you took here is something that I've never really seen before. I mean, I was going through the slides of the Dracula Tower cottage, and something like even just the towel rack was that outstretched Dracula-like evil hand or something like that. So where do you think about these things? And do you ever stop, or do you just keep thinking, how can we plus this? How can we plus this? What's the next thing that we can do? How does that?
It's constant, and that's twofold. That's keeping it fresh, and it's threefold, and seeing things like, oh, once you see it, that would make things even cooler or even better. And then it's also the reality of maintenance and the bevy of things that we have to replace. There's a reason that hotels standardize. So then you find things, but those hands that you're talking about, were a 3 a.m. in the morning purchase on Etsy with Joe lying next to me saying, "Get off your phone,"
Right.
kind of thing. But oftentimes one thing will lead to another thing will lead to another thing, and we've designed whole rooms around a lampshade. I mean, but that's just design.
Wow.
Well, it's fun because a lot of our guests will stay in a room maybe the third time they're there, and they'll say, "Oh my God, I just noticed this thing that's been over in the corner of the room, and I've been in here 3 times." So
Yes.
that's a great.
That's what I love about it. That's what I love. I'm glad you said that because that's what I love about it. Even I just walked into the mansion, and we got to talk about the mansion and how you found it, and maybe you can get a picture of it, Glenn.
Yeah, I just wanted to show this. I just wanted to show this detail that they were talking about. This is on the pumpkin in the Cinderella cottage, but it's like a little bird, right? And it's just a tiny little accent that people wouldn't normally see or even think to do.
Do you know how long it took to get the just right placement of that bird?
Tell us.
That was about an hour and a half or so.
Oh my God!
Where you could see the wings the best and where it was going to photograph the best, and yeah.
I walked into the mansion this morning to greet you, to say hello, to see Greg, and I've walked into the mansion several times already over the last year or so, and it was like new to me again. There was something, I don't know what you put in there. I don't know what color you changed.
Well, there are a lot of new things since you were in there last.
But it was just like I immediately grabbed my camera and I literally just picked it up and took a shot. And then I showed it to you and you was like, "What a great shot." Well, it wasn't me. It was just like you think of when you build this is fascinating to me. You think like a photographer. Like you literally are looking at the light and the angle, every part of the room. So when I picked up my phone, between the technology of the phone and your abilities, I mean, that's all it did. I literally took the phone, went click, and I had this incredible shot. And it's just, that's what I love. I think that is really well said. Every single time you come here, you find, or you sit in your room for 3 days, you find another level of detail that blows your brains out.
Look at that shot.
I think you just made Greg's day, Anthony, because that was part of his business plan. Was that you could you could take photographs everywhere. You could do Instagram. You could do selfies everywhere.
Yeah, we talk about social media moments to get people interested in hotels, but this is beyond anything that I've ever seen before.
This needs its own social.
Oh, you're frozen up again.
Anthony, you froze again?
Like it should be called the Roxbury, and everybody just goes to the Roxbury and tries to have pictures like this. But let's talk about the mansion. Let's talk about the history. I know we're going over here a little bit, and I know you guys got to get these rooms ready. So 5 more minutes and then we'll wrap up. But I think it wouldn't be fair if we didn't stay right there, Glenn. Let's talk about this unbelievable mansion and a little bit of the history.
Well, she's definitely the grande dame of the whole site. She sits in the center, and what you're looking at right now, those 2 levels, smaller levels on the top, that's called a cupola, which was a new word for me years ago. Some people call it, in Cape Cod, it's also called a widow's watch, whatever.
Well, the difference between a cupola and a widow's watch is the widow's watch, you can go up in it.
Right. And it was called a widow's watch because they used to wait for their fishermen to come in from the sea. But yeah, so we, when we purchased the mansion, those 2 levels were not on the top of the mansion. They were there originally, obviously, because we had some photographs from when the camera first came out in the middle of the 1800s. So we knew that what it used to look like, but by the early 1900s, both those levels were gone.
Wow.
So actually the most difficult engineering feat of anything that we did on this entire project was that. You wouldn't think so. You would think it would be installing the Greek statues or the staircase you saw earlier. I mean, Joseph's sculptures were quite a feat because they took many months. But as far as from an engineering and a structural perspective, the basement of the mansion had to be completely dug out, and 3 feet added to its depth.
Wow.
And then steel beams put into it. And halfway through it, we struck a spring. So water was flowing through it. So we had to divert the spring water. And it was one thing after another. But it took the mansion a whole year longer than it should have, just to be able to put that two-tiered cupola on the top. But there, you're looking in that photo there, you're looking up into it. So every ounce of the delay and the agita was worth it, because as you climb the stairs going up into the mansion, it's pretty breathtaking. There's another shot of it when you look up into it. Wow. We'd have loved to have created a way to have a staircase, but we would have had to have taken a room away, and every single room was accounted for to make the budget numbers work.
Wow!
But the cool thing about the themes for the rooms in the mansion, of which there are 7, is each one is not a fantasy theme. The themes in the mansion are inspired by the history of the mansion, and the businesses that actually used to be on this site over 200 years ago that are no longer here. This was the first settlement for the village, or one of the first settlements. It wasn't until the railroad station was built, where the village is now, that the economic engine of the area became where it is now. Prior to that, Stratton Falls had its own post office and these businesses. So the mansion is kind of our way of paying tribute to the settlers that were originally here.
Wow.
You know, I never get tired of hearing that story. I never get tired of hearing about the mansion. But I'm going to ask you a question I bet you no one's ever asked you before. What is your favorite quote from the photographer?
The photographer that I worked with the most?
The one that took all these pictures. I would love, because as I'm looking at this photography, I have so many emotions. I can't imagine if I'm sitting here all day taking these pictures. Like,
well, hopefully Nils is watching and he could chime in and say. But I think my favorite quote from him would probably be, "Greg, are you going to put this on Instagram too?" And that is because that meant a lot to me when he said it, is because I thought I was annoying him because I was oftentimes behind him. And this doesn't, I know the point of your question, it doesn't really answer that, but that was the honest favorite quote of his, because I was oftentimes behind him doing a story of a camera angle of him getting the shot and what we went through to get just the right shot. And I thought I was annoying him, and I didn't know until he said that one day that he actually enjoyed it and was reposting those same stories.
That's why I asked, because as an artist, he probably enjoyed the shoot. Glenn, if you can go back a couple of shots, they're that really cool antique thingy. I don't know what it is. What was that?
This is a room called the Dashing Haberdasher, paying tribute to the milliner shop that actually used to be on the site.
What's that?
That is the water closet. Below what you're looking at there is the toilet. And that is paying tribute to when you used to go into an old-fashioned milliner shop or a haberdashery, that you would pull the goods out of leather drawers and leather like crate things. So I found this wallpaper that looked like that, and then paid homage to the leather suitcase crate thing with an actual old suitcase on top of a cabinet that was in the mansion when we bought it.
It was in the original bathroom in the mansion when we bought it.
Yes.
Awesome.
Hey, Glenn, I know I did it again.
I could keep the spirit of the house.
Why don't you kind of wrap up the show?
Yeah, no, that's fine. This is I'm glad that you did a lot of the talking, since I was running the board, since producer Dave was running all around. But yeah, as Daniel's saying here, you guys, you are both an inspiration to the entire industry, and officially on my bucket list. I wish I could stick around here instead of having to leave today, because this place is so absolutely incredible. Assuming that you do have any rooms left in the next 10 years or so, how could people get one?
Go to the roxburyexperience.com and look and see what appeals to you. We usually recommend that people call us. I know it's an extra step and it's not really the way the world works right now, but because there are so many different kinds of rooms, it's hard to navigate availability. It's not like a normal hotel where you can just, you're picking a room type. So it's hard to navigate what is available and when, number one. And number two, because of COVID still, we get every day there are so many cancellations and things open up. So I suggest people call our main number and give the dates they're interested in, and that's the best way.
Excellent.
Okay, and I hope you charge $500 for each cancellation.
That's another whole story. I have kept a spreadsheet of all of the cancellations, though, and it's a little mind-boggling.
Of course you have.
For us.
Of course you have.
Right. Of course, it's attention to detail. Gentlemen, thank you so much for, I got to say, magical experience today.
Thank you. We go back to reality now.
Yeah, let's not do that. All right, guys. Thanks so
I'll
much.
tell you something. I needed this, and I can't tell you how much I love both of you so much, and it's just it's just a fantasy land, and just the effort that you've put into this. Just know that so many thousands of people, your fans, truly appreciate every ounce of energy and stress that you guys have gone through. So it hasn't gone without notice. And again, as a hotelier that's done this 33 years, I've never seen anything like it. So I love you both, and hopefully I'll be back soon.
Love you too,
Thank
Anthony.
you. Love you too.
Hey, guys, thank you so much. Man, that was great. And I'll tell you, all the struggles that they've been having with COVID, Anthony, makes me think about all those hoteliers out there that need to lower their property tax bills because they didn't make so much money last year. Falling revenues mean you can get in lower tax assessment, but Bright Support is the company that can help you do this. Don't miss this rare opportunity to reduce a large operating expense and book a free 30-minute consultation with them right now at brightsupport.net/hotels or call them at 833-411-2233. Of course, tell them that No Vacancy News sent you. Anthony, what a magical day this has been. I'm so glad we drove up here. We fought the snow just so we could be at this place.
Unbelievable. And I just can't. I just have, there's no words. There's just no words. And like I said, the cottage I'm in right now, this is the last one they put into inventory. And I was like, yeah, this is nice. This will be nice. This will be not my favorite, but this will be fine. And maybe not even, my top 3 favorite. I walked in this morning and go like, I don't want to stay anywhere else. This is my favorite room.
Well, there is one word, I think. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is probably the right word for this place.
Yes. Now spell it right now. Spell it. No.
Yeah. We're out of time. Unfortunately, I don't have time to spell.
So Glenn, real quick.
Yes.
You've been here now just a couple hours, but what's the one thing that first got your attention? What was the first thing you're like, holy crap?
Architecture and design that demands to be paid attention to in a really positive way. It makes you stop. It makes you look. It makes you want to absorb what you're experiencing and seeing. So many times in life, Anthony, when we go to hotels, we see it, but we don't really stop and take a moment to enjoy what we're experiencing. It's so many different properties are all different in exactly the same way, and they don't really stand out. This demands your attention.
I think I couldn't have said that. That is absolutely perfect. It demands your attention. Even the view I'm looking at demands your attention. And anybody calls this resort kitschy, I will punch him in the face.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, look, if you're looking out there, you probably can't tell what that is, but it's like some sort of alien thing, but it's kind of like jellyfish at the same time. And it's like all of these strands that are hanging down that create an awesome look when put together. And of course, you got the planet, or the eclipse of the sun or something like that there too, which is really phenomenal.
Like I said before, it just is. Anybody says it's thematic or it's kitschy, or it just is, man. You walk in and it demands you pay attention to it. It's not like, oh, that's nice. It's like, what is that? You go to it. It's like in regular theme rooms or regular hotels, you're like, oh, that's nice. And you go on. Here you go. You go to it. And you like what you just did. Yeah, there's a switch here. You can see it going on back there. Special effects in the room. There's an actual light switch for special effects if you want to turn them on or off. I think that you just sounded and looked like a little 3-year-old. You're like, there's a switch there.
And then look at this. I have to tilt it up a little bit. You can't tell, but in between the 2 light fixtures over there, that's like a half moon shape. It's really cool.
Look what's above me.
Yeah. Right.
Look at that. I moved the camera not knowing what it was going to look like because I didn't look up. And I just literally moved it. And that is like, is there anything nicer than that?
Right. All right. Anthony, this is unbelievable. I got to come over there and see that room. I haven't seen it in real life yet.
Oh my God. All right. Take us out,
guys. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. And let me tell you, you've got one life. And if you're going to blaze on, come to this place. Now, that's a real experience. Right, Anthony?
Yes. And be kind to yourself.
All right, guys.